Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Pavitra Reddy, the anchor for this event organized by GCAP Softech Scholar Planet. I want to start by acknowledging the overwhelming participation to this webinar and extend a special welcome to our distinguished guests from around the world, like University of Santo Thomas, Philippines, Wheels Global Organization, Washington, Anudata, New Jersey, United States, Indian School, Muscat, Oman, Bright Riders, Abu Dhabi, UAE, Indian Community School, Kuwait, and from India's most recognized institutes, Cambridge, DPS, Army Public School, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Modi University, Jindal Institute, Amrita Vidyalayam, Chennai, Soundarya Institutions, Bengaluru, Salwan Public School, Delhi. Also, we have various policymakers, senior IAS officers, along with various teachers and students attending this webinar. Your participation enriches our discussion and highlights the global interest in the transformative potential of AI in education. Thank you all for joining us today. Let's embark on this journey into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence and explore its profound impact on education and beyond. Before we move on to a fireside chat, I would like to give you a brief overview of GCAP Softech. It is an edtech startup introducing Scholar Planet, an integrated learning platform aimed at making quality education accessible at scale. Scholar Planet is a mobile learning application powered by data and AI, providing actionable insights into student performances. Built on innovation and designed for scalability, it takes a student-centric approach and features a smart assistant for teachers. Let's watch a short video that explains Scholar Planet.
शिक्षा सबसे शक्तिशाली हथियार है, जिसका उपयोग आप दुनिया को बदलने के लिए कर सकते हैं। शिक्षा से विचार, विचार से व्यक्तित्व और व्यक्तित्व से ही राष्ट्र का निर्माण होता है। 140 करोड़ की आबादी वाले हमारे देश में 26 करोड़ की संख्या सिर्फ स्टूडेंट्स की है। सरकार द्वारा शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में कई योजनाएं चलाई जा रही हैं और उनके परिणाम भी अच्छे हैं, परंतु टीचर्स की कमी, पुअर स्टूडेंट टीचर रेशियो, सेकेंडरी क्लासेस के स्टूडेंट्स का 17.5% से भी अधिक ड्रॉप आउट रेट, ऐसी समस्याएं अभी तक चिंता का कारण बनी हुई है। महंगे कोर्सेज और एक आम आदमी के सालाना आय के हिसाब से अपने बच्चों को क्वालिटी एजुकेशन न दिला पाने की लाचारी, इन समस्याओं को हल करने में और शिक्षा के प्रचार, प्रसार तथा गुणात्मक सुधार को ध्यान में रखते हुए GCAP वर्ल्ड सॉफ्टेक कंपनी ने टेक्नोलॉजी और जेन AI की मदद से एक स्मार्ट लर्निंग ऐप का इकोसिस्टम तैयार किया है। यह एक इंटीग्रेटेड ऐप है और इसकी खास बात यह है कि ये टीचर्स, स्टूडेंट्स, स्कूल मैनेजमेंट तथा पेरेंट्स को एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म पर साथ लाता है, जिसका नाम है स्कॉलर प्लैनेट। अब स्टूडेंट्स को पढ़ाई करनी हो, गेम्स खेलने हो या स्कूल आवर्स के बाद किसी भी सब्जेक्ट के प्रॉब्लम्स के सॉल्यूशंस पूछने हो, टीचर्स को असाइनमेंट चेक करना हो या मैनेजमेंट को इन सभी ऑपरेशंस की मॉनिटरिंग करनी हो, ये सारे सवालों के जवाब आपको स्कॉलर प्लैनेट के यूजर्स खुद ही देंगे।
स्टूडेंट को क्लास में पढ़ाने से ज्यादा टाइम उनको असाइनमेंट देने में, होमवर्क देने में और क्लास वर्क चेक करने में ही चला जाता था।
थैंक्स टू स्कॉलर प्लैनेट, इसने ना सिर्फ स्टूडेंट की लर्निंग स्किल बल्कि हम टीचर्स की टीचिंग स्किल को बेहतर और एफिशिएंट बनाने में काफी मदद की है। अब उनको पढ़ना हो, होमवर्क देना हो या चेक करना हो, इस ऐप की मदद से सारे काम आसानी से किए जा सकते हैं।
अब हमें और हमारे स्टूडेंट को पढ़ाने और पढ़ने के लिए क्वालिटी टाइम भी मिलता है और सुकून।
करेक्ट, इस ऐप के माध्यम से स्टूडेंट और टीचर्स को तो फायदा मिल ही रहा है, साथ ही साथ पेरेंट्स को भी घर बैठे अपने बच्चे का स्टूडेंट रिपोर्ट कार्ड टाइम टू टाइम मिलती रहती है। असली सुकून तो वही है।
रजनी बिटिया, मैं आ गया। अरे तू फिर फोन पे लगी है? रुक, मैं अभी आया। तू पढ़ती लिखती भी है या दिन भर इस ये फोन में लगी रहती है? अभी लगता है अब रजनी पर ध्यान नहीं देती है। अरे बिटिया, पढ़ेगी लिखेगी नहीं तो स्कॉलर कैसे बनेगी, है ना?
पढ़ती हूँ ना चाचा।
अच्छा, फोन पर?
फोन पर नहीं, स्कॉलर प्लैनेट ऐप पर जो फोन में है।
देवर जी, अब हमारे रजनी को ऐसे मत कहिए।
अच्छा,
वो दिन रात फोन पर लगी जरूर रहती है, लेकिन फोन से वो पढ़ाई करती है। और हाँ, मुझे अब उस पर ध्यान रखने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है। मुझे फोन पर ही उसके सारे रिपोर्ट कार्ड मिल जाता है।
अच्छा।
और हाँ, फोन हाथ में होना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, उसमें स्कॉलर प्लैनेट ऐप होना बहुत जरूरी है।
अच्छा, यानी फोन पर पढ़ाई?
हाँ।
चल मेरे सवालों के जवाब दे। ए प्लस बी का होल स्क्वायर बता।
a square plus b square plus 2ab.
व्हाट इज नाउन?
The name of a person, place, thing is called noun.
अरे वाह बेटिया, तू तो बड़ी होशियार निकली। लेकिन सोनू भैया जैसे सीनियर स्टूडेंट के लिए स्टडी मटेरियल नहीं होगा इस ऐप पर।
है ना चाचू, इस ऐप में सब है। आप अपना फोन निकालो।
क्या बात कर रही है भाभी, ये तो कमाल हो गया है।
प्ले स्टोर पे जाओ।
हाँ हाँ,
और डाउनलोड करो स्कॉलर प्लैनेट ऐप।
स्कॉलर प्लैनेट ऐप खुल गया बेटा, बता।
अब देखो, पहले लैंग्वेज सेलेक्ट कर लो।
ठीक है, हिंदी। हाँ,
जिस भी भाषा में आपको पढ़ने का मन करे।
ठीक है।
फिर अपना स्टडी मटेरियल सेलेक्ट करो।
ठीक है।
फिर अपना ग्रेड और जो सब्जेक्ट आपको पढ़ना है वो खोलो और पढ़ो।
ये तो बड़ा आसान है बेटा, है।
और हाँ चाचू,
हाँ।
इसमें कोर्स मटेरियल्स के अलावा चैप्टर वाइज लेक्चर वीडियोस और डाउट सेशन की सुविधा भी है।
अरे हाँ।
और तो और अगर आप पढ़ते पढ़ते बोर हो जाओ तो इसमें माइंड गेम, क्विज और ओलंपिक जैसी व्यवस्था भी है जो आप अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ बैठ के आराम से खेल सकते हो।
अरे वाह, मतलब खेलते खेलते पढ़ो या पढ़ते पढ़ते खेलो, एक ही बात है।
करेक्ट, छोटे हो या बड़े, सब पढ़े सब बड़े।
भाभी, बिटिया हमारी होशियार हो गई है। हाँ, अब मैं भी सोनू भैया से ऐप डाउनलोड करवाऊंगा ताकि वो भी तेरी तरह स्कॉलर बन सके। बिटिया स्कॉलर बन गई भाभी।
तो देखा आपने, ऐसे न जाने कितने रजनी स्कॉलर प्लैनेट का इस्तेमाल कर अपनी शैक्षणिक सफलता की ओर अग्रसर है। लद्दाख, उत्तराखंड, जम्मू कश्मीर, असम, गुजरात सहित देशों के 11 राज्यों के चुने हुए केंद्रीय विद्यालय, सरकारी और प्राइवेट स्कूलों के छात्र स्कॉलर ऐप का उपयोग कर रहे हैं। इसके उपरांत यूएस, फिलीपींस, चाइना, साउथ कोरिया, नीदरलैंड्स, यूके सहित 144 देशों में इस ऐप का उपयोग हो रहा है।
शिक्षा वो आधार है जो समाज को मजबूत बनाता है। शिक्षार्थी अपनी स्ट्रेंथ को परखे, अपने सपनों को साकार करे और शिक्षक उनकी प्रगति में बराबर से साझेदार हो। इस विजन के साथ एक टेक्नोलॉजी एंड जेन एआई संचालित स्कॉलर प्लैनेट मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए लर्न, प्ले एंड एक्सप्लोर के साथ सीखने की जिज्ञासा और टीचर्स को एक स्मार्ट टीचिंग असिस्टेंट देता है। स्मार्ट शिक्षा के इस अभियान में गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशंस, केंद्रीय विद्यालय, गवर्नमेंट एंड प्राइवेट स्कूल्स हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं। लेट अस रिवॉल्यूशनाइज एक्सेस टू क्वालिटी एजुकेशन विद स्कॉलर प्लैनेट।
भाई मैं तो समझ गया, स्कॉलर प्लैनेट ऐप है बच्चों के लिए बहुत जरूरी। अगर आप भी अपने बच्चों का भविष्य उज्जवल चाहते हैं तो आज ही डाउनलोड करवाइए स्कॉलर प्लैनेट ऐप।
तो दोस्तों, आज ही स्कॉलर प्लैनेट ऐप अपने प्ले स्टोर या iOS पर डाउनलोड करें और अपने बच्चों का भविष्य उज्जवल बनाएं, क्योंकि आज पढ़ने वाला ही कल का स्कॉलर होगा।
I hope we all found this video helpful to understand what GCAP SoftTech is trying to do. Moving on, I would like to go over a few aspects on how to participate in today's event. This will be a 30-minute session where our panelists will discuss AI in education, followed by a question and answer session. You will have the opportunity to submit the text questions to today's panelists, either by typing your questions in the Q&A window or by raising your hands to ask a question. The answer from the Q&A session and the recording of this webinar will be made available to you after the webinar. Let me introduce our eminent panelists for today. It is my pleasure to introduce Madam Gauri Kumar, a distinguished leader in public administration and education. Gauri Kumar is a retired IAS officer from the 1979 batch, has held key roles such as Secretary in the Union Ministry of Labour and Employment, and she is from the Gujarat Cadre Office. With degrees from Allahabad University and Harvard University, she has been awarded 7 gold medals and the prestigious Lichua Fellowship. Currently, Madam Gauri is an independent director on multiple corporate boards and the founder of an edtech startup focused on accessible quality education. Let's welcome Gauri Kumar, a visionary committed to public service and educational innovation. Good morning, ma'am. The next panelist for the webinar is Madam Anita Karwal, a visionary leader in education. Ms. Anita Karwal, a retired IAS officer with over 36 years of experience, has significantly impacted education and governance. As former secretary of the Department of School Education and Literacy, she was instrumental in drafting the National Education Policy 2020 and launching the Nipun Bharat initiative. Currently, she is the chairperson of the Real Estate Regulatory Authority in Gujarat. Anita's reforms in CBSE and the expansion of the Diksha platform have benefited millions of students and teachers across India. Her expertise in governance and policy making continues to shape the future of education. Let's welcome Madam Anita Karwal, a dedicated leader committed to educational excellence. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Pavitra.
Third panelist for the webinar is Ms. Shweta Khurana, a visionary in AI and education. Shweta drives a strategic program with governance across Asia Pacific and Japan for Intel, focusing on public-private partnerships to develop AI skills, aiming to empower 30 million people. With 23 years of experience, she has built trusted relationships and impactful alliances for youth empowerment and educational transformation. Since joining Intel in 2010, Shweta has led roles in corporate affairs and K-12 education, promoting tech-enabled learning. Her work leverages business for social impact, forming powerful partnerships. Let's welcome Shweta, a leader dedicated to advancing AI and education for a better future.
Thank you so much.
Shweta. Thank you all for joining us today. I will now hand over to Madam Gauri to start the discussion.
Thank you, Pavitra, and a very good morning to all the people who have joined online. It's an honor to have so many champions joining us today, both on the panel and in the audience, who are committed to a world of possibilities, a world where every child can explore her full potential and live her dreams, and who are realistic enough to appreciate the urgent need of collaboration to achieve such an audacious vision. Leaders who are foresighted to leverage the full power of technology and AI for an accessible education paradigm to make this transformation a reality in our lifetime. This webinar is the beginning of such collaborative conversations. Scholar Planet mobile application with personalized dashboards, and I apologize that the film is in Hindi, so many of our global guests may not be able to have understood it. This is our contribution towards this aspiration, the result of our sweat and pension, and created with passion to make learning fun and teaching easy, with no child left behind. It's a privilege to have Anita and Shweta as my co-panelists, both visionaries who have made immense contributions in creating an equitable quality education ecosystem. Anita as a policy maker, from policy to execution, and Shweta with technology-driven empowerment. Anita, you had pioneered the new education policy and the new national curriculum framework in India. Please share with us your vision to transform the education landscape, and to what extent you think those goals have actually been achieved on ground, and what role do you see for technology going forward?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. It's a very, very crucial webinar. I would like to take the audience first through the context about what I am talking about, and then I will try to dwell on the role of technology and how NEP envisions it and how it is working on the ground. The context is like this, that in 2020, when after almost 36 years, a new policy came out for education, this policy actually rings the bell for huge amount of paradigm shifts. And when we are talking of paradigm shifts, we are talking of shifts in the way the curriculum is written down, the framework is given, the way pedagogy is administered in the classrooms, the way assessment is done, the way every child is tracked, the way every child learns, the kind of content that the child will be exposed to, etc. And not just a paradigm shift in the curriculum side, but it is a paradigm shift in the way we look at education from the child's point of view. Because education now is all about being holistic in nature. So earlier, when we used to tell the child that bring your body to school and leave your mind and emotions at home, it doesn't work anymore under the national education policy. So the child comes to the school not just with the body and the mind and emotions, but also with the values and the culture, the prior learning that the child has. So it's the whole child which is coming to school, and the whole child is being taught, and the whole child is learning. And aside from this, another major paradigm shift is the way in which we have integrated various aspects into education. And one of the most important integrations is technology. Aside from technology, of course, we have also integrated a lot of ideas which are futuristic. For example, environment is integrated at every level of learning from K to 12. Aspects of knowledge of India, gender, inclusion, values, everything is integrated from K to 12. Now, technology is what is going to help us move into the next decade and into the 100 years of independence that India will celebrate in 2047. The amount of disruption that has happened with Gen AI is something which is acknowledged by the National Education Policy in its chapters very, very openly in chapter 24 and 25. And therefore, what the policy envisions is that not only in the area of curriculum, but for the purpose of making the policy equitable and inclusive and accessible, technology will have to be used. Now, let me give an example. We started the Diksha platform of the Government of India in 2017. During COVID times, children who come from big urban schools, etc., had access to their teachers, had access to a lot of content at home, but children in the remote areas hardly had any access. But with the help of this app, which is mobile friendly and which children can download the content within 2 minutes if they have some amount of Wi-Fi. So the entire year's content can be downloaded. So Diksha was available to the children all through the country in 36 languages, because of which there was continuous learning. Now, of course, Diksha was not AI based, but we look at things like Jadui Pitara for foundational learning, which Government of India has come out with. It's an AI based platform. It's called Jadui Pitara for those of you who have not seen it. It's really interesting where AI generates stories, texts, rhymes, folk tales, songs, uh, all kinds of things which a teacher requires, everything that a student wants to learn, everything that a parent may want to tell the child at the foundational stage. So technology at the foundational stage has become really, really important. Technology for teacher professional development is envisioned in the policy. Every teacher now who will undergo the 4-year B.Ed program will mandatorily learn technology and how to integrate it in education. And that has the 4-year integrated program was already started 2 years back. So on the ground, also it has been initiated, and slowly it is being expanded to all the teacher training institutions. Content creation is also now slowly from earlier kind of technology to now AI-based technologies. Content creation is also changing. Across the country, for example, we have textbooks which are called energized textbooks. By energized, we mean that every textbook that is prescribed by the SCRT has QR codes in every chapter and on every hard spot. These textbooks behind the QR code have a content which is there on Diksha platform. You can simply read the QR code through a barcode scanner and go to that content. Now, this kind of thing, with the help of AI, can actually become interactive. And it can also become It can give feedback. It can probably do remediation for the child's learning gaps, etc. The NEP and the NCF also envision that pedagogy will now integrate technology from preschool, not just from grade 6, where we learn in NEP that coding will be taught from grade 6. Coding is a subject which will be taught, but pedagogy will integrate technology even in Anganwadis from preschool level. There is also alternate ways of learning which have been introduced through this NEP, through the National Education Policy. And I think this would be my last point, where I would just like to mention that not just open schools, open and distance learning schools, but also blended mode of learnings is being encouraged. I want to give the example of higher education, where UGC has come out with a directive that every child has a right to study 40% completely online courses through the Swayam platform, and 60% credits they can get from offline, that is in-class physical courses. Now, this kind of thing on ground was done 1.5, almost 2 years back, and it is actually being implemented across the country in higher education. Similarly, in school education, assistive technologies, um, content which is audio content, for example, for children who are blind, or who are children who are hearing disabled. For them, there is Indian Sign Language based content, all technology enabled. So the National Education Policy and the NCF, in sum, has tried to integrate technology from curriculum to pedagogy to content to teaching learning material to assessment to assignment to counseling to mental health and well-being to physical health and well-being at every place. We realized in the National Education Policy that without technology, we will perhaps miss the bus of quality education and miss the bus of growth and development that the nation would like to aspire for. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anita, for that brilliant treatise on the entire spectrum of holistic education, starting with students, teachers, pedagogy, content, and how technology enables and powers this whole journey of a student. We'll come back for more on that later. Let me request Shweta, the powerful partnership strategist, to share with us her experience of working with governments for developing AI skills at scale. Government is, of course, a necessary partner with the mandate, the resources, bringing sustainability and scalability to the whole endeavor. But it's also a tough one to partner with, Shweta. So what's being done to build an AI-ready next generation in India through integration with education, and what are the roadblocks?
Thank you so much, Gauri ma'am. And it's such a pleasure being here with all of you. I'm just going to take a step back before I address the question you've asked, Gauri ma'am, just to talk about where we are today and what is happening in the digital economy. So according to World Bank, today the digital economy is really growing 2.5 times faster than the global physical world. And at Intel, we call 5 superpowers, which are enabling that. So whether that is ubiquitous compute, AI, cloud, intelligent edge, 5G, and sensing. And AI, or harnessing the power of AI, is extremely critical. Like Anita ma'am said, we're afraid that we may miss the bus. But factually speaking, India has been taking so many strides, and I'm really happy to be sharing this platform here, because Anita ma'am was driving the driving force behind introducing AI as a subject of study way back in 2019, when no other country had really thought about it. As a formal subject of study, what does it really mean? And how do we work with governments, being a corporate house or being a MNC in India? AI can only be driven ahead in education, for education, or AI education itself. There are 3 aspects. So we can have AI in education, which means we really use AI to improve learning outcomes for our subjects or different subjects of study. We use AI for education, which means a lot of data management, building resilience in the education systems. And the third, or the important parameter itself, which is AI education. So AI was introduced as a subject of study there for AI education. And the idea here is to solve the AI skills crisis, because globally it is recognized as the biggest barrier for wider adoption of AI as a technology and for growth of AI. Now, the meaningful steps which we actually took in collaboration with the government to enable youth to become AI ready are actually driving a lot of programs and initiatives as a shared value and in a concept where it's scalable and sustainable in the longer run. So when Anita ma'am was heading CBSE and it was introduced as a subject of study in 2019, today I'm really happy to share that we have more than 16 lakh students who are actually using AI as a subject of study. And 2.5 lakhs students gave their class 10th board exams just this year in 2024, in March 2024, scoring tremendous amount of marks. So it becomes extremely systemic. Also, interestingly, AI as a technology itself is evolving every day as we speak. Today, we are living in a virtual no-code or a low-code environment, whereas one does not need to know coding to be absolutely proficient in managing AI. We are talking about a lot of new strata of AI. We are talking about concepts of Gen AI. We're talking about something where there's a lot of research happening, which is agentic AI, which really kind of says that we can automate the iterative process of collaboration, problem solving, transform our interactions with machines so that they are far more intelligent than what even Gen AI is. The idea or the concept here is, how are we really focusing on human machine partnerships? How are we getting the future generation to be ready to work in an environment which enables them to efficiently process human machine partnerships? When I talk about the new developments in AI, Gen AI is what we started using in education today. And across multiple countries, we see a lot of educational institutions developing and adopting practices which make efficient use of it. But here we're also talking about new developments like agentic AI, where AI will be given a certain amount of adaptability and can process reflection and self-critique. Just imagine a machine which has a human-like capability of reflecting on what are the outcomes it throws and can critique itself. So living in that environment is what future of work really is. Now, when we talk about students and how do we gear up students for that, there are three critical parameters we've always kind of stressed on in most of our collaborations with government. One is, how do we develop a mindset towards this new era technology? So whether that's socio-anthropsychology, whether that's developing an understanding of human-machine partnership, whether that's really understanding what AI biases are, how do we kind of manage and navigate the challenges associated with AI. The second part is, how do we develop the skills of AI? Understanding the three domains, whether that's computer vision, AI and data, whether that is really, or natural language processing, or whether that is just not learning the skill, but also having the ability to use that skill to solve a problem students see in the world today, around them, in their schools, in their environment, in their communities. And the third and the most important aspect of it is access to tool sets. Because AI in itself does need a tool to be played out. And essentially, the shared value, shared responsibility concept works extremely well through our collaborations, which we've driven with CBSE, Ministry of Education, National E-Governance Division. In fact, they have a program called Yuva AI, which today reaches out to state government schools across the country, every single state and union territory. And Niti Aayog. These are critical partners for us. And it's really interesting because we're kind of honored. We are witnessing a government playing a very catalytic role in driving AI education. We are seeing a lot of collaborations and impactful initiatives. And I'll just end by saying, Anita ma'am mentioned about two critical initiatives, which was Diksha and Swayam. And most of our programs, whether that is AI for youth, AI for current workforce, future workforce, or in fact, AI for all, which is like simple learning for every single citizen who should know how to navigate themselves in an AI-driven world, is now available on both Diksha and Swayam. Thank you, Gauri ma'am. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Shweta. It's heartwarming to hear of champions collaborating together, and it's absolutely wonderful to hear the partnership that Anita, you and Shweta had, which actually can prove transformational. And Shweta, it was interesting to hear that beyond government partnership, we are talking of human and machine partnership, and of machines being able to critique itself, something which humans may find it difficult to do. So thank you so much for your commitment, your insights, and the range of partnerships and possibilities that are already being investigated and beyond investigated being executed. So absolutely good to good to hear that. Um, uh, we discussed about the challenges in implementing AI. You talked of mindset, you talked of skill set, and you talked of access to devices. Now, the last one is something which I think the government of India is doing very strongly in terms of providing the necessary hardware to all the schools. You also mentioned about 5G as one of the 5 enabling devices. With mobile phone penetration exceeding 110 per 100 citizens in India, our experience has been that the students are the biggest champions. They love to understand things, and the mobile application helps them to play, learn, and explore in their own time from the comfort of their homes. And this is tremendously worked, at least in the first phase of getting them comfortable with technology. So do you think, we have a huge investment being done through smart classrooms. Do you think smart classrooms are adequate? Or do we require a combination of classroom learning with home-based practice with friends? We do recall the peer learnings which we have had. So over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. That's a very interesting question, whether smart classrooms are actually adequate in being used effectively or not. And I do have a lot of thought behind this. So smart classrooms were devised when ICT at school as a scheme was really being rolled out, which is a couple of years ago. And what COVID did for all of us is made us extremely resilient and open to new pathways of learning. And we always have the NEP to look back, which I would say is extremely futuristic, because we are talking about using technology in almost every mode. So two things which kind of direct or why smart classrooms are no longer just the de facto way of learning, and we do need alternative practices as well. One is, and I'm going to refer to a lot of work, research work, which happens on future of work by multiple organizations and institutes. The first one is that we are now used to working almost everywhere, right? The definition of a workplace has changed, or study place has changed, so to speak. It's no longer like we are having this in a hybrid mode or maybe in a fully virtual mode. Similarly, a study environment has also become extremely virtualistic. Keeping that in mind, access to devices beyond a smart classroom in school has become a most important factor. The second part of future of work really says is, what is the work style or what is the work task? How do we automate it? Now with AI coming in, specifically with generative AI coming in, and the way AI is evolving, what we are really going to be seeing is our work tasks are going to shift radically. So when we are preparing a generation which has to be ready for these shifts, we do need access to tool sets. And when I say tool sets, it kind of encompasses a device, multiple apps, way to interact, so that we are really focusing on building a generation which is not just consuming knowledge, but also towards a path of becoming a knowledge creator at their own time, in their own space, where they want to be, and where they have the time and the bandwidth to engage with education. So keeping all of this in mind and keeping the research which is happening on future of work, getting a generation ready to be able to work efficiently with what future of work entails, I would say that we really need to look beyond smart classrooms now.
Thank you, Shweta. Anita, what role do you see for Gen AI? Because Shweta was talking about Gen AI, and you as the original praneta or the pioneer of the national new education policy, what do you see as the role of Gen AI in making education equitably accessed, and how can we bridge the urban-rural socioeconomic, linguistic gaps in learning? I recall that when I was at Harvard, they would make everything look so simple that people will adapt and adopt it easily. So we had a professor called Jeffrey Sachs, and he would say that there is this demand curve, there is this supply curve, and wherever they intersect would be the price discovery. Now, how do we use technology and AI, Anita, to provide an opportunity for everybody to partake in it simply and at scale?
Well, ma'am, I would like to start by saying that um, the disruption that AI has brought into our society and into every aspect of society, including education, uh, if we do not catch up there, education is actually going to become irrelevant. So, with that background, um, what we have realized and what we are now, what has been laid down in the national curriculum framework and the policy and is being implemented is firstly that AI should be used for qualitative education in various ways. Number one, teachers. Now, teachers require a lot of support, ma'am. So, our teachers, they come from a particular mindset, from a particular kind of education system. And up to grade 5, we have DLEDs, which is school pass outs plus 2 years of diploma. They are not even college pass outs. Now, such teachers, they have to deal with children who are exposed to knowledge day in and day out on mobile phones through various methodologies. And what they're teaching in the textbook is already outdated. So, therefore, for the teachers, it becomes necessary that they have the capacity to be able to match up with the curiosity of the children and to be able to satisfy their curiosity and also ignite their minds for learning. So, therefore, teacher capacity becomes very, very important. And that is one place which is one way for actually removing the rural urban divide. One very important methodology. The second thing is, ma'am, language. Now, the national education policy says that if you want to make education accessible, you have to give it in the language of the child, and particularly up to grade 5 as far as possible, and if possible, even up to grade 8. Now, what we are seeing, ma'am, I'm from Gujarat cadre, you're from Gujarat cadre. Here itself, aside from Gujarati, there is Kutchi and there is Dangi, and there are so many other tribal languages and dialects. In Mehsana, the dialect changes. In Saurashtra, it changes. Now, what is happening is teachers come from different places and they are transferred to different places. They are not able to communicate with the child. This is where AI comes in. AI can be so useful to bridge that divide between the teacher and the child as well, which is so important for accessing education. We are also using AI in a very interesting manner, AI and technology both. I am not sure if you know, ma'am, that in India we have started registering the students. There is a student registry program in which the APAR ID is granted to every student. 80% of the students in India from preschool to grade 12 have already been registered. They have an APAR ID. This APAR ID is used for preparing a child-wise dashboard, and every child is being tracked for the purpose of retention, whether the child remains in the school, whether the child is dropping out of the school, whether the child is achieving learning outcomes, the child is getting scholarships, is participating in sports, etc. So that also becomes very, very essential part of providing qualitative and equitable education. I also want to mention that AI based technologies are essential for children with disabilities. They're also essential for children who learn at home because of various disabilities. And this is something which India is actually warming up to. It is right now rising to the occasion, and we are in a position to actually dole out e-Jadui Pitara, as I had already mentioned, and that is up to grade 2. And from grade 3 onwards, a lot of work is happening on the Diksha platform itself to integrate AI. So, for the purpose of making education freely available and the same kind of education, therefore democratizing the education, making it available to all children. One last thing that I want to mention is that when we consider how AI will work in education system, whether it is in a private school or a public school, the only strategy that works is public-private partnerships, which is unless the government collaborates with non-governmental organizations, edtech companies, it is not going to work. Government alone does not have the answers. NGOs alone do not have the answers, and edtechs alone do not have the answers. We really have to get together to provide qualitative, accessible, and inclusive education. Thank you.
Maybe meanwhile, I could just ask you a question. I think it leads to the same. There was one in the group. One of them was asking, in a app like Scholar Planet and with the new things that are coming up with ChatGPT and Gamma, how does a school performance get rated, and how do you think these things play a role in schools and in colleges? Maybe it's for both of you. Each one can take it up and let me know.
Yeah. So as compared to the West, we have been a little slower on the uptake of OpenAI, Gen AI. So I have been reading a great deal in the West how, the largest of universities initially resisted, that children were using AI to do their assignments or for their assessments, etc. But slowly they have come around to it, and they are all right with creative use of Gen AI based, things like ChatGPTs and Bards and Pose and Gammas and Canvas and what have you. In India, what I have seen at the school level, at the university level, of course, there is ample use. But at the school level, we are still warming up to it. And perhaps the reason is, as Shweta has been pointing out, the skill set. Mindset, I feel there was a dent made because of COVID. I mean, COVID was, of course, a very difficult time, a challenging time for all of us. But it also gave the opportunity for teachers to learn technology because there was no other way out. There was no option. So yes, the dent has been made in the mindset, but the skill set is where we will need to focus on.
Yeah, we have.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Anita. It was brilliant to hear that, the way we are trying to handle the digital divide between teachers and students, because teachers increasingly find that their students are not able to engage or keep their students engaged. So that's very interesting. Shweta, how is Intel supporting the governments in ensuring the positive role of AI in the Indian education system? You did mention the strong partnership that you had forged with Anita. But what exactly is it that you are now supporting the state governments with?
Sure. So, ma'am, basically, we have multiple programs and initiatives in India which we are running in collaboration with governments. So, AI for Youth is a program which we do in the schools. While we're doing this with CBSE, and that's what Anita ma'am started, and it's scaling beautifully. I would say it's taken a life of its own. It's growing. Now, there are thriving communities of students and teachers within the CBSE schools who are exchanging best practices, how to implement AI, how to live with Gen AI, right? I mean, there was one question which was coming up, is that how do our schools adopt Gen AI? And one huge challenge which came up with, how do you determine the ownership of a work which is generated by Gen AI, right? Who owns the intellectual property, etc. So there are schools which are now exchanging best practices. And for us, that's a unique learning, because eventually, being practitioners, they are in a position to authenticate and tell us how to manage that environment. Beyond that, for the state government schools, we are working very closely with NAITI, and we have a program called Yuva AI, which is in collaboration with them, which kind of allows students from the public schools across India to really apply, come up with an idea. And when I talk about public schools, there is no restriction of where these schools are. In fact, we try and figure out that we work more closely with schools in economically and geographically challenged areas, like maybe the Horde, which is in Narmada in Gujarat, or Yadgir in Karnataka, aspirational districts, and we work with them, or the northeast areas. And there, what we realize is the students are so creative, and the solutions they come up using all the skill sets they've got with AI is far more different than what we've seen in the rest of the other parts of India. And then there's a competition, that competition which Yuva AI gives them after workshops, series of mentoring sessions. There's a national competition. The winners of the national competition, in fact, get an opportunity to showcase their AI application to the Honorable Prime Minister of India. To actually be in that position is such a prestigious thing for a student who comes from a remote area. And we've seen that work beautifully for the last 3 years.
Yes.
Beyond that, the third program which we are working with currently with Niti Aayog and the ATL piece is that, you know, ATL focuses on IoT, Internet of Things. How do you really work with sensors? How do you create a project which kind of artificial intelligence, and you have IoT, and how both of them work beautifully together to solve a problem which a student would want to. That's a program which we are doing and scaling with Niti Aayog across the ATLs pan India. The last and the one of, I would say, it's also giving a right platform for these students to show their creativity and their innovation with AI, because they are the front runners. So we have the India Festival, the India AI Impact Festival, which currently is running in collaboration with CBSE, with Department of Science and Technology, and with Niti Aayog for the first time. It's so heartening to see, you know, a cross ministerial platform where everybody has come together and collaborated so that we don't miss any child who would want an opportunity to showcase their innovation and what they've done with AI. And when I say child, it's not just school children. So it has two parts. It has students which are under 18 and students above 18 as well, who would
So
come.
we are all learners. We are all learners at every age, Shweta. Anita, I have the last question before I pass on to to Pavitra. You know, it's a very topical and sensitive challenge about the high costs of coaching, including the loss of lives, disruptions. Do you have any thoughts on how it can be addressed?
Ma'am, it's actually a very, very important question. And having over the years been through going through newspapers and hearing about the large number of suicides that are committed in particular parts of the country where coaching centers are blooming, it is very difficult to actually, it's very tragic, very unfortunate, and very difficult to look at these things. Coaching is something, ma'am, which will stay as long as higher education is not able to decide to go in for a single uniform examination. The National Education Policy has very clearly said that there shall be an NTA, that is the National Testing Agency, and NTA shall do one examination, which is based on aptitude. And through that one examination, all admissions must happen, whether it is in the professional education institutions or it is in the general education institutions. Now, we will have to move towards that slowly. But before that, since we are on the topic of AI, I personally feel that coaching has become unaffordable. Coaching has become difficult mentally for children to take. Their mental health and well-being is being is not being taken care of. Their physical health and well-being is not being taken care of. And also, coaching is very routine and a very, very rigorous exercise. Now, here is AI, which can make it engaging. It can make it affordable. It can gamify it for you. It can actually help counsel you. It can have mental health and well-being inputs for you. It can tell you after every 15 minutes, go get up and exercise. There are so many ways in which this generative AI technology can be used for the purpose of making coaching a much more engaging and a healthy exercise for children as compared to what it is today.
I think, anyway, that was her last question. So, yeah, thank you for a very educative and lively discussion on how we can improve education with AI. That was really informative to all of us. There are a few questions, but before I start, let me just see if Mr. Ashish Baguna, IAS, you had raised your hand, sir. Would you like to ask a question to the panel? You can go ahead, unmute and ask your question, sir.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me congratulate all of you. You know, for dinosaurs like me who belong to a much earlier age, this comes as quite a revelation. I have a couple of questions, clarification, more in the nature of clarification. I'm involved with an NGO which is conducting virtual classes for girls' schools in backward districts of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. And conducting virtual classes is a frightfully expensive proposition. So we are not able to upscale as much as we would have liked to. And also we have tremendous issues relating to connectivity. So my question here is, in this particular app that has been generated, I'm not talking about AI in general, but this particular specific app, is it is it aimed towards individual students or a classroom, full class of students? And is there a separate app generated for teachers who can then adequately supervise the learning of these students? I mean, how exactly does it work? Because
So Ashish,
because
So Ashish, it is an integrated platform. So it's a mobile app. The school logs in through its dashboards. Each student, teacher, a school, state, each one has their personalized dashboards, and the teacher and the students have the app. So the same thing, the teacher can give an assignment to the students with a click. The student gets it, answers it, sees his answer sheet, teacher gets his answer sheet, they get the leaderboard, they are able to get personalized learning tips, so they get prompts with AI. So the whole body of everything that the student does and the teacher does and the school does is visible to everybody. So everybody is on the same page, they understand. Primarily, also the idea is that the student is able to discover his own strengths, because many students may not be good in math or science, but they may be excellent in languages. So it has the entire gamut of subjects, so that the student and the parents get a complete view of what the student is doing. Is he spending time? Is he not able to do well? So that's the intent of the app.
Thank you, Gauri. No, my question was slightly different. That means that everybody in a particular class, for instance, I'm not even talking about the entire school, everybody in a particular class, all students and all teachers have to be invested in the app?
So in fact, we volunteer with the state governments and the state government schools, Ashish. So we have volunteered in Kendriya Vidyalaya, we have volunteered with UT of Ladakh, and we are now currently going to volunteer very soon with the state government of MP, UP, and Rajasthan. And so we volunteer. As we said, it's a very affordable one. We have it at 99 rupees for a student per month. That's a charge we have. And we believe that the technology and AI enable us to keep the charges very low and the usage very convenient.
Okay, no, that sounds interesting, and I would maybe speak with you on the margins and see if how we can test this out in the schools I'm working in or I'm involved with. But this sounds very interesting, and I'm sure obviously it can also be used for a subset of students. It doesn't necessarily mean the entire class, but then it's not as effective as it would be if if the entire class was. Or
yes, we'll be delighted to. In fact, the Kendriya Vidyalay's experience is very heartwarming, and we got the app checked out through a third party, Center Square Foundation, and people have found it very amazing. So Anita also had a look at the demo, so we'll be happy to do that with you.
Great. More power to all your elbows then, and best of luck.
The name of the name of the app is Scholar Planet. Question, please.
I have a few questions that people have asked. So I think, Ms. Anita, this question is for you. It says, as you rightly mentioned, the need to use AI for broadening access through ensuring that we reach out using multiple remote dialects. My question is, would it be the Sarkar or would it need to be the Samaj that works with EdTech to ensure this happens? This is from Satyajit.
Yeah, so I actually rounded off my last talk, my last question response with this exactly, that Sarkar alone is not in a position to do everything. Sarkar needs to supplement, complement, collaborate, and learn from outside as well. And what I mean by outside is to collaborate with non-governmental organizations and edtechs. And I'll give you an example. Diksha, the platform that I keep talking about, is actually a collaboration between Government of India and a CSO called EkStep. And the EkStep on its part also sub-collaborates with a lot of other edtech organizations. And that's how this huge platform has come about, which has now been declared a digital public good and a digital global good as well by the Government of India. So to work at that scale, where you can accommodate 25 crore children at one go and 1 crore teachers and 15 lakh schools, and have verticals for every state separately and make it interoperable and make it scalable and evolvable, you need to work with the Samaj and also with the bazaar. Yes.
It's a very crowded marketplace, Anita, at the moment, and the Samaj needs to now make an entry. I think we are reaching the end of our webinar time. We appreciate you joining the webinar.
Ma'am, if we can quickly go to Ms. Suvarna Sable.
Yes, Suvarna, please.
Hello.
Over to you.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Suvarna.
Yeah, thank you for giving the opportunity. First of all, I just wanted to thank you to Anita ma'am. 2 years ago, I just saw her video on CBSE AI community, and I just motivated my students to be there. Wanted to say my children are very AI student community. So thank you. The video of my picture was there.
Swarna, your voice is breaking. Swarna, your voice is breaking. If you could please ask the question in the Q&A, we will come back to you with the panelists' responses. We will mail the whole thing to you. I think your voice is breaking at the moment. Sorry, the technology has played very truant with me also. We appreciate all of you joining the webinar and enriching the conversation with your insights. This is the series of webinars that we propose to host. We apologize for any inconvenience. Looking to the overwhelming global interest, we will time it better next time, and we'll also have the short film in English. Do join us for our next webinar. Do check us out. Stay in touch. Let us all work together, as Anita rightly concluded by saying that all of us need to collaborate. It is not a matter which can be done by government or by any player alone. The certificates would be mailed to you together with the video recording and together with answers to all the questions that have been posed in Q&A. Over to you, Pavitra.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the questions like ma'am mentioned, and I'm reiterating that we will be sending all the answers to you in a mail once the webinar is over, along with the video of the webinar. Thank you, everyone. As we conclude this enlightening webinar on enhancing your knowledge in education and the transformative role of AI, we invite you to stay connected with us for future events. Subscribe to our social media handles and receive updates on upcoming webinars. We have a couple of them already lined up. Some of them are one is with Mr. Amitabh Kant, former CEO of Niti Aayog. We also have a future one with Mr. Ram Sevak Sharma, CEO of National Health Authority. Stay tuned to deepen your understanding of educational advancements through the insights of these and other thought leaders. A big thank you to our panelists and the expertise and thoughtful discussions. Everyone have a good afternoon and see you in the next webinar.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you next.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita. And thank you, Shweta. What a pleasure and what insightful observations you guys had, and what wonderful work is being done by government in government schools to provide access. Heartening to know that. Great.
Thank you.